We've all heard the Charlie Munger quote, "The first 100,000 is a struggle," and he was right. That first six-figure milestone is a brutal uphill grind, where you're essentially starving your social life to feed a brokerage account that barely moves. But there is a second number, a number that nobody talks about because it isn't as clean as 100K or as sexy as a million. That number is 200,000. If 100K is the top of the hill, 200K is the moment you realize you're no longer the one doing the heavy lifting. It is the precise mathematical inflection point where your money starts working harder than you do. It's the day your portfolio earns a higher salary through compounding than you can realistically contribute from your paycheck. Most people hit 100K, breathe a sigh of relief, and then unknowingly sabotage the next 5 years, effectively lighting millions of dollars of their future wealth on fire because they don't understand the mind-blowing math of the crossover. Today, I'm going to show you why 200K is the only number that actually matters, the exact year-by-year proof of how it breaks the wealth game forever, and the 3 silent killers that wait for the moment you cross this line. If you're in the boring middle anywhere between 50K and 300K, pay attention. Your money is about to pass you. Don't get in its way. The value, the inflection point. Why 200K? Why not 150K or 250K? It comes down to a concept we call the contribution crossover. Let's look at a typical disciplined investor. You're mid-career, you're focused, and you're shoveling $15,000 a year into your investments. That's a massive effort. That's $1,250 every single month that you aren't spending on a new truck or a nicer apartment. When you have $50,000, an 8% return is only $4,000. Your 15K contribution is doing 80% of the work. You are the engine. But when that balance hits $200,000, an 8% return is $16,000. Read that again. Your money just earned $16K while you were sleeping, which is more than the $15K you spent 2,000 hours at the office to save. This is the moment you transition from being a saver to being a steward. Let's look at the zero effort math. Suppose you hit 200K and you literally never add another cent. You just let it sit in a boring S&P 500 index fund at an 8% average return. Year 0, $200,000. Year 10, $431,784. You've more than doubled your money doing absolutely nothing. Year 20, $932,191. Year 25, $1,370,000. That is the power of the curve. But here's the kicker. If you keep up that $15,000 annual contribution, you don't hit $1 million in 20 years. You hit it at 12. The path from 0 to 200K might take you a decade of grinding, but the path from 200K to 1 million is a downhill sprint. The problem? Most people trip right when they should be accelerating. The retention, the psychological danger zone. If the math is so easy, why isn't everyone a millionaire? Because 200K is the most psychologically dangerous number in finance. When you have $10,000, you feel broke, so you stay disciplined. When you hit 200K, you feel comfortable. You look at your bank account and think, I've made it. I'm a high net worth individual. This triggers a set of wealth-killing behaviors that Morgan Housel warns about in The Psychology of Money. First, there's lifestyle inflation. You've been driving that 2016 sedan for a decade. You see that 200K balance and think, I've earned the upgrade. You trade it in for a 50K SUV. You think it's fine, I still have 150K left. No, you don't. You didn't just spend $50,000. You spent the future version of that $50,000. Second, there is contribution complacency. When your portfolio is swinging by $3,000 or $5,000 in a single day, your $1,200 monthly contribution starts to feel small. You start thinking, why am I stressing about this $500 car payment when my portfolio just moved $10K this week? You stop seeing the importance of the shovel because the pile looks so big. But as we saw in the math, those continued contributions are what shave 8 years off your retirement date. Complacency at 200K is the difference between retiring at 52 or working until you're 60. Finally, there's complexity over confidence. This is where you think you've beaten the market. You move away from J.L. Collins's simple path to wealth, the boring index funds, and you start tasting speculative plays. You put $40K into a promising AI startup or a leveraged crypto play. At $200K, a 25% loss isn't just a $50K hit. It's a mathematical reset that puts you back 3 to 5 years in the grind phase. The cost, the visceral price of interruption. Let's make this hurt a little bit, because you need to feel the cost of interrupting the math. Every time you pull money out of the compounding engine at the $200K mark, you aren't just losing cash, you're losing time. Let's take that $30,000 car upgrade. If you're at the $200K inflection point, that $30,000 left alone for 25 years at 8% would have turned into roughly $205,000. That car cost you $205,000. Was the new car smell worth $200,000? Probably not. What about pausing your contributions? Let's say life gets busy, you want to live a little, and you pause your $15K annual investment for just 3 years while you're in the $200K range. By the time you reach retirement 25 years later, that 3-year break has cost you over $250,000 in final portfolio value. You didn't just save $45K over those 3 years, you deleted $250,000 from your future self. This is what we mean by mind-blowing math. At the $200K mark, the multiplier is roughly 7 times. Every dollar you spend today is $7 you were stealing from your 65-year-old self. Once you see the math this way, it becomes very hard to justify luxury purchases. The strategy, protecting the curve. So, how do you handle the boring middle? How do you ensure you don't become another could-have-been millionaire? You need a framework to protect the curve. 1. The lock-in rule. When you hit $200K, make a pact with yourself. My lifestyle does not change for the next 36 months, period. No new cars, no reward vacations, no moving to a luxury zip code. You need to let the momentum of crossover take hold. 2. Ramit Sethi is right. Automation is the antidote to psychology. If the money moves from your paycheck to your brokerage account before you even see it, you can't decide to spend it on something stupid. At $200K, you should be a wealth-building robot. 3. Reframe the purchase. Before you buy anything over $1,000, multiply the price by 7. That's the compounding cost. If that $2,000 MacBook feels like a $14,000 MacBook, do you still want it? Sometimes the answer is yes, and that's fine, but at least you're making an honest choice. 4. Stay in the slow lane. Complexity is the enemy of the $200K milestone. You don't need fancy tax loss harvesting or complex option strategies yet. You need the S&P 500 and a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund. Your job is no longer to find growth. The growth is already built into the math. Your job is to not interrupt it. There's a reason wealthy people seem so calm when the market dips. It's because most of them have crossed the $200K inflection point. They know that even if the market drops 10% this month, the math of the last decade is still doing the heavy lifting. Before $200K, you are a saver. You're grinding, you're sacrificing, and you're fighting for every inch of progress. After $200K, you are a steward. You are the captain of a ship that finally has the wind in its sails. You don't need to row as hard anymore. You just need to keep the ship pointed in the right direction and avoid the rocks. The path from 0 to $200K is the hardest thing you will ever do financially. But the path from $200K to $1 million? That is just a matter of patience and discipline. The math is on your side now. The only thing that can stop you is you. So where are you on this curve? Are you still in the grind phase, or are you starting to feel the wind hit the sails? Drop your current milestone in the comments. Let's see how many of you are approaching the crossover. And if you want to know exactly how to structure your portfolio to make sure that you make good financial decisions and even faster, you need to watch this video on how retirees turn $500K into over $2 million next. Keep your head down, protect the curve. I'll see you at the finish line.